Good morning, everyone. It is September the 11th, 2024, and it's a beautiful day here at DCI Academy. This morning, we're live streaming again, and we're recording for the natural hair and braiding course that we have at DCI Academy. This course is, with this particular subject that we'll be talking about, hair disorders and treatments. It's definitely a great study for our cosmetology students and for our natural hair textured students as well. So let's just jump into it. Hair disorders and treatments. Many years I've studied about the conditions and disorders of the hair and scalp. Even in natural hair, protective styles can stand the risk of a cover-up of these hair disorders. And protective styles are not a cure for all from having these issues going on with our hair and scalp. And so whether we are relaxing, semi-relaxing, or non-relaxer services, we all can stand to deal with some issues that go on with our clients' hair. So in my time, even as a student, even as a young professional, I would daily study about the things that I would see in the salon and the things that I would see on my clients' hair. And I wanted to know, how do I fix it? Okay, so I've always been a person that addressed issues and like, what's the problem? And then we build solutions around it. So whether it's hair color, whether it's a condition of the scalp, or something's going on with the hair, with the ends, the cuticle, I always identify the problem first and then move in to build a solution, whether it's a protocol for skin or a protocol for hair care. Either way, having a great understanding of hair disorders and treatments is going to put you in the top of the line, because at the end of the day, many people, they love trendy services. They love trend styles, but everybody wants healthy hair. Everybody sometime at some point is going to want healthy hair. So even as a natural hair professional, and for years, natural hair has been associated with braiding and weaving. And so now we have natural hair that has stepped aside, that people are actually wanting to treat their hair and wear it in its natural state. And so I'm here today to help you identify different things that you may see in the care of someone's natural hair, whether it is relaxed or semi or non-relaxer. Okay, so let's look at hair disorders and treatments. This is a chapter you will have to learn your terms. And I've always said, you learn your terms, you will know you will understand the questions. You will know what the questions are asking because you understand the words. Okay. And so the terms are always going to be key no matter what lesson that you are reviewing. Gray hair is also called, it's a technical term for Kanishis. Okay, it's the term for gray hair. It is the loss of melanin or loss of pigment within the hair. There's two types of Kanishis. There's congenital Kanishis, which, we see that at birth. You can see a baby that is born with hair that does not have any pigment, so there's probably white or gray hair. It occurs a lot of times in albinos, just having a lack of pigment. It can occur in any backgrounds. Sometimes it's found in a patch, and sometimes it's found across the hairline. But most likely, you'll find it as in birth in a patch. Okay, and it can develop slowly or develop fast. And so they will move into maybe premature graying or just have this gray patch for throughout their childhood. And then there's acquired Kanishis, Of course, that's the process of aging. Just as you age, as your body gets older, your skin will start to lose its elasticity, its fullness, and also at the same time, you'll find that the melanin will stop producing. Okay, the melanin cells won't produce as much pigment. All right. Um, it can start as early as 13 years old, and that melanin just starts to decrease until it's an absolute loss of pigment as a person ages. And so, Kanishis is our first term. That is the technical term for gray hair. And there are two types of Kanishis, congenital and acquired. You know, guys, when we get ready to study, I'm a numbers person. So, um, sometimes your quizzes will just be numbers on the board, and I will want you to summarize what does that number reference. And it has worked in our state board prep. And if it works in state board prep, we're sure for it to work in other areas, okay, of our learning. So Kanishis is a technical term for graying hair. It is the loss of natural pigment, and pigment also could be loss of melanin in the hair. There are two types of Kanishis. One is congenital Kanishis, where at birth, and then one is acquired Kanishis as a person ages. They get gray hair. Okay. And so as we continue to move on, you have what they call ringed hair. Okay. Ringed hair. Ringed hair is another variety of kanishis. And so what happens with ringed hair, it has some pigmented hair and gray hair. So just like for instance, your hair is black. And there's kanishi, there's kanishis present. So that means there's gray hair present. And so you'll find that the hair will go out with pigment, without pigment, with pigment, without pigment, with pigment, without pigment. So on that strand of hair, you'll be able to see that it alternates growing with pigment, growing without pigment. And you'll see that black, white, black, white, black, white, what they call white gray. And so ringed hair is just another variety of kanishis characterized by alternate bands of gray and black pigmented hair. So it's not, gray hair is simply a white strand, a strand with no pigment, laying next to a strand with pigment. So both of those strands side by side gives you gray hair. Okay. Um, and then ringed hair, it has the growing out the follicle with pigment on one portion, the next portion, no pigment, with pigment, no pigment. Um, and a lot of people see it as salt and pepper as well. So this is ringed hair. The next term you have is hypertrichosis. Okay, hypertrichosis or CCs refers to superfluous hair and abnormal development of terminal hair on areas of the body, normally bearing only downy vellus hair. So women, most of the time, they have like an endocrine or reproductive hormonal disorder. And for example, just say PCOS may have hypertrichosis. And so in areas you think about areas on a woman that would not normally have hair, and you see them have hair, it may be the case. So on women, for example, women should not have mustache, beard hair. And so when you see women with mustache, beard hair, and you can actually see the hair, that's a terminal hair because terminal hairs have pigment, but it's also hair in places that normally would not have hair. And so, yes, we expect it under the underarms. Yes. We expect it on the scalp. Yes, but we don't expect it above the lip, and we don't expect it in the chin area. Okay. So hypertrichosis refers to superfluous hair or abnormal development of terminal hair on areas of the body normally bearing only downy vellus hair. So normally you will only see soft, downy hair that does not have pigment. Okay, so if you've seen a woman with a mustache, a light mustache, a beard, or just extreme facial hair, this is someone who has hypertrichosis. Okay, you should not, and in this particular text for natural hair and braiding, it gives the option of depilatories, electrolysis, waxing, or shaving. We are not going to shave, guys. The best bet was going to be electrolysis, waxing, or um, some depilatories. And sometimes those depilatories, such as like Nair, they are super harsh on the skin. So I would choose the waxing or the electrolysis option. This day and age, lasering has become more and more popular. So now lasering has come in and is that alternative option. Also, sugaring has become popular as well. It is another alternative option. So there's more options than what the text allows. And it's good for you to know which is which and which one you prefer by just trying it. And then it's trichoptilosis. Trichoptilosis is the technical term for split hair ends. So when the ends are split, okay? So that means when we talk about the layers of the cuticle, when you have these layers of the cuticle that separate, instead of just binding together to create a smooth hair, when it starts to separate, you'll see these ends split. Okay. They have to be permanently removed. Sometimes conditioners could temporarily bind, but the ends will continue to go up the hair shaft if they are not removed. Okay. So trichoptilosis is a technical term for split ends. Okay. Um, you can treat the split ends, but if it's become very severe, you will need to trim them. Trichorexis nodosa is knotted hair, and a lot of times in protective styles, we can see the swelling of these nodules or knots. So at the base of braids, when they've been up for a while, it just becomes the hair just pauses and becomes knotted. Okay, and so careful removal of protective styles can help maintain the hair so it does not become knotted, and not keeping the hair up so long, like a long wear. Um, Also, when you see these knots, anything below the knot, I say anything, I say, yeah, below the knot is going to come off. Okay. That knot is a guarantee that you have some ends splitting and removing themselves away from the actual hair. And the hair can be very fragile in this state of trichorexis nodosa. So the hair is dry, it's brittle, very, very easy to break. Okay, very easy to break. Um, Manila threads is a technical term for beaded hair. The hair breaks between beads or nodes. Scalp and hair treatments will improve the hair condition. And so this beaded hair, you have these little bitty beads and you thought you're detangling. Great. I think a great detangler would be a silk base, protein and silk base creamy conditioners. They help soften the cuticle and helps detangle the hair. And so it breaks up those little beads or knots that start to form. Okay. And when you have multi-textured hair, which means different hair types at one time, you can possibly run across knots and entangling. Fragilissus cranium is a technical term for brittle hair. So now we need to address why the hair feels so dry or split ends and may have both together. So the hairs may split at any part of the length. Conditioning hair treatments may be recommended. Cutting above the split hair is required to reduce further damage. Just going ahead and cutting it off but it's possibility it can be saved in this early stage by proper conditioning treatments. Okay. We look at chemical damage. It says, as a natural stylist, you are not legally allowed to apply chemical altering services, but you need to understand the services and the benefits and the responsibility um, of that you will have. Okay, the responsibility you will have. Because you most of the time will be getting clients who are post relaxer services, who are no longer relaxer services, but they will come to you to service them the in between. Okay, the in between. So there's a lot of external factors to why the hair goes through so much, why the hair is traumatized, and at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is healthy hair. And so there's internal behaviors of the hair that in the hair and scalp that we are not in control of. And then there's external behaviors. We definitely contribute to our hair condition. We definitely contribute to it being broken. We definitely contribute to us not being able to detangle it. Okay. There are many different types of relaxers. And so what we'll learn is no, you cannot use the relaxers, but you gotta understand when the clients come in and talk about the different relaxers they use, you gotta understand where they're coming from. All right. And so we'll review different types of relaxers, but there's guanidine hydroxide, lithium hydroxide. These are no-lie relaxers. Okay. Most of the time, they are no mix relaxers. The no-lie perms, they are commercially called. They dominate the retail market. And so this is what you see in the stores, what you can see in beauty supply stores. Relaxer home kits can be bought at any neighborhood beauty supply store. Okay. Some of the claims are misleading because of graphic design, photo art. A lot of times, what's on the cover is not necessarily was produced by what the product is, right? And so don't be fooled. A lot of times when you look at these relaxers that you can buy out of the beauty supply store, um, especially the ones that have like children face on it and things of that nature, it gives the option or the look or the note, or you would think that this relaxer is safe for kids because it has a kid's picture. But when you do the pH, it's just as strong as the ones for adults. All right. So it can be misleading. The best thing for you to do is to really, and I think I said no lie with no mix, but it's opposite of that. But really, you need to really understand as natural hairstylists the chemicals and the journey that your clients have come from in order to move to the next place. Sodium hydroxide relaxers, they can start from a 7 to a 14. They on the pH scale, they are alkaline. Okay, most of your relaxers are on the alkaline side. So even if it's misleading and it has a child on there, it would bring you to assume that it was safe, but it's sometimes as strong as the adult relaxers or the regular strengths. Okay, and so we have to be very, very careful with that. We can cause over processing. It can cause not being fully educated on those relaxers because they are they're so home oriented now. You can have over processing. A lot of the hair conditions that we just spoke of can be curated by using these relaxers. So, a misusing of the relaxers. So we have to be very, very careful that even on the pH scale, relaxer may be at 12, making sure we use the shampoo and conditioner that picks up at 12 and brings it back down, the neutralizing that brings it back down. And we got to have treatments for this. And so prepare for your clients coming in, being able to decipher what they're using, even though it's something you do not use, you know how to move forward. You know what kind of relaxer would leave certain things on the hair. And so you're training your eye at the same time. Okay. Let's look at some Okay, let's look at some terms. Alkaline is a solution that's from 7 to 14, or 7.1 to 14. 7 itself is neutral, and most relaxers are in the alkaline side. A relaxer base is a protective cream that protects the chemical from causing scalp abrasions and sensitivity. So it is probably a petroleum based cream or oil that we put on the scalp. And then we'll do the relaxer on top of that. And we do that as a safety measure so the relaxer does not harm the client's hair and scalp. Then we have suboccipital, the area underneath or below the occipital bone, okay, which is fine. You can find in the lower part of the back of the head. They all got collate, perm, or no-lie relaxer. It's a chemical compound. Falls in relations to our jerry curls, our permanent waves. Also, it's what we call 2024 Gina Perm, or Gina Curl, things of that nature. So in order to move into, your hair was already overly curly, and that's a natural state. In order to move into a more relaxed curl or wave, you would do relaxer, thioglycolate relaxer that would break the hair down, and then you would restructure the curl. You would break those buns and restructure the curl pattern with by rolling it. And there's a new solution that sets this new curl pattern in place, followed behind with neutralizing and shampooing. And this client has a new curl pattern, and it lasts anywhere between 4 to 7 weeks. Okay. This was very popular back in the 70s and the 80s and even some of the early 90s. But I see a resurgence of this type of relaxer coming back as a thioglycolate relaxer. Okay. And some of our natural cuties are getting restructured curls. And so that means that they are semi natural or not natural at all because they are using this chemical to restructure their curl pattern. Okay. And so it's all in the terminology, and you got to know exactly what it talks about. So here we talk about over processing of the relaxers can give a depilatory effect. How depilatories work, such as Nair, you will put that product on your on the hair, and it starts to melt, and you will wipe after a certain amount of time, and the hair will be removed. So what's happening? That depilatory product is melting away the cuticle. So in resemblance to melting away unwanted hair, the chemical relaxer can do the same thing. It can melt away hair when it's used improper. Okay, when it's used improper, and so not using it in its proper way or doing it too frequent can also cause so much damage to the hair. You got to make sure you pick the right strength. You got to make sure you have the right application time. They have the right neutralizing shampoo that balances the pH, that brings everything back around. You got to make sure you're choosing the one for the right texture, and you got to make sure you're doing the correct look, the finishing look after the relaxer service. Okay, so the hard part is maintaining the chemical service after it's been applied, and that's where we miss a lot of people because they do not maintain or don't have great home care after the service. All right. And we talked about the popularity of those style Glycolate relaxers in the 80s. Here's a few things I'm going to do, and we're going to mark this as part one of scalp disorders and conditions with natural hair braiding. Dandruff is something that is widespread. It's talked about even as natural hairstylists. You guys got to know how to treat it because it can become one of those things that cause your styles to look really bad or unhealthy. It says a natural stylist having a thorough understanding of scalp disorders and treatments will protect you and your client. Knowing what you see when you're going into the client consultation and you see dandruff, bam, I need to know how do I treat this and what level of dandruff are we dealing with. That's going to help me decide how to treat it. Okay. The outermost layer of the scalp, the epidermis, continuously sheds. This is the dead skin cells. It just repeatedly sheds. But you have different types of dandruff where this sheds excessively. So the medical term for dandruff is called pityriasis. Okay, it's an accumulation of large visible clumps of scales on the scalp. It is an overproduction of those skin cells. And so it just overproduces, okay? The excessive production is introduced to the scalp by the overgrowth of a fungal yeast known as melasma. And so what I'm going to get ready to do, we're going to close right there. As we prepare to close, we will come back with part 2 shortly.
She's the doctor from Braiding. What did she say? The tall lady.